They would never let me say this on CNBC. MSNBC would never let me say what I make. The US dollar is fake. Never in the history of the world has any fake money ever survived. And we're doing the same thing. We just keep printing this money. Today, there's quantitative easing, which is counterfeiting money. And then you have zero interest rates. And people are still saving money. They just printed, I think, $500 billion because the repo market is going down. And the average guy goes, well, what's the repo market? They don't know. Look at what's going on in Paris today as we're talking. They're rioting. Millions of people are rioting because of pensions. Japan, they're rioting because of pensions.
Terrible. You see them. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Americans, I wonder how my 401k is doing. I'm going, gee, I'd be a little bit worried, but they don't know. The average firefighter has about 1.2 million in pension, but nothing there.
What do you mean?
Their payout's going to be about 1.2 million.
The average firefighter retiree has a $1.2 million pension payout.
Yeah, that's how much they'll get paid out.
Okay.
But there's nothing there. It's a problem.
Meaning what? Meaning they don't have the money to pay the benefits?
It was stolen. It was stolen by Wall Street. Today is 2020, right? In 10 years, 2030, 2 billion baby boomers across the world will retire. Japan's broke. Argentina's broke. China's broke. Italy's broke. Germany's broke. All these old guys are retiring. The repurchase market is one of the biggest markets in the world. And the Fed is bailing that one out now. So the average American is watching the stock market, but not what's really going on. So that means retirees, their kids, taxpayers will pay for the heist.
Do you think the reason why we're not really having the conversation about the big elephant in the room, which is the, say $100 trillion of unpaid commitments that we have, not including the $22 trillion of debt that we have. We have Medicare, Social Security, we have all this unpaid commitments that we've made, not including the debt we have to Russia, to Japan, not Russia, to China, to Japan, all this stuff that we have to pay for, right? Do you think the reason why none of the presidents are really talking about it is because if they do, it's not a 8-year fix? So whatever they do, if they campaign on it, it's a 40-year fix. So because they have no influence to fix it, so they're just kind of letting it go to the next president?
They can't fix it.
So does that say that the current model of how we pick presidents, is that an effective model? Because, if they can't do anything, like why would I want to campaign around paying off the national debt when there's nothing I can do about it in 4 years? Because the GDP is what, 3.6 trillion. National debt is 22 trillion. Even if I took the GDP and I made no one make any money, everybody paid taxes 100%, 3.6 trillion. In 4 years, I wouldn't even pay off half the debt that we have.
No, and that's why, Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren talks about tax the rich, AOC, tax the rich. Well, I hate to tell you this, but the rich don't pay taxes. So in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And what does that mean? Fake money. As soon as they could print money, any time throughout history, they printed money, the money disappeared. It went broke. Every country that printed money went broke. We're going broke. US is going down. Japan is going down. Europe's going down. South America's going down. Mexico's in serious trouble. Look at Venezuela, the richest oil country in the world. They're going down. Zimbabwe going down. Because we're run by these kleptomaniacs or something. Called politicians. The same guys that robbed the world are robbing their pensions.
Interest rates are close to zero, and the printing of money to buy assets is not as effective. In the old days, in the normal days, if the economy didn't do so well, you'd hit it with a little jolt of stimulation. You'd lower the interest rate, and put some cash out there. You give it a hype, and then it goes, okay? When you get to zero, or close to zero, you can't lower those interest rates. So we're close to that level in the United States. We're at those levels, negative interest rates in Europe, negative interest rates in Japan. That baby ain't going to work anymore. When you try to lower that, in terms of that won't happen, okay? That's limited. And then what they do is they go out and they print money and they buy financial assets. And that is not working as well, because what happens is when you buy the financial assets, it goes into the hands of who own financial assets,
Yeah.
investors. And what they do is they put it into more investments. That notion of putting it into more investments makes those investments go up in price, which is great for the people who have the investments, but not so great for the people who don't have the investments. It widens the wealth gap, and it's its own challenge. And it's not going to be stimulative, and you'll see it. There's a rise of a power to challenging an existing world power. China rising to challenge the United States. And if you look at through history, when there's existing world powers and there's rising of a challenging power, there is a conflict. There are conflicts. And they've led to wars. In the last 500 years, that's happened 16 times. And in 12 of those times, there were wars. There are 4 types of wars that happen simultaneously. We always think shooting each other and sending people and bodies into wars and that kind of war. But they all have 4 types of wars. They have a trade war. Mm-hmm. They often start with a trade war, 1930, Smoot-Hawley tariffs. There is a technology war. There is a geopolitical war, like is happening with China. What will it mean for Asia, Asian countries? And there's a capital war. For example, just recently, the Trump administration said that they're considering shutting off capital to China, a certain flow of capital to China. Well, it's not happened before. You have to go back to World War II. And in World War II, and in a number of wars that other countries have had, they have a capital war, which means that they could say, the Trump administration could say to the Chinese, you know those $1 trillion of bonds that you own? Well, we're not going to pay you. Because that will determine in the markets what will happen in the markets and the economy, right? And number one, that wealth gap, who you elect will have big economic and market impact. Number two, the absence of monetary policy will have a big market impact as to what will be done. And number three, this geopolitical war, which involves those 4 things, technology and so on, will have a big impact.